Hello there. So today we're going to talk about Germany again because Robert Habeck is a clown. And I'm going to show you what kind of a clown he is because he really is. I mean, it's like, really, Habeck, really, this is what you're trying to do right now. So, clean energy wire, which is like, I mean, it's a pile of poo, really. The website, I don't really like it. It's very ideological driven, but it gives us a really nice overview of what is going on currently. I can't access Tagesspiegel. Uh, they ask for money, and honestly, I'm not going to pay for that. So let's read what is happening. An earlier phase out of coal-fired power production in Germany by 2030 is unlikely if the country does not manage to install sufficient alternative backup capacity to support the electricity system during times of low renewable power output. Economy Mr. Robert Habeck has said. For me, energy supply security will always be the absolute priority. Well, what do you know? Robert Habeck, energy supply security will always be the absolute priority. Then why the hell did you close the nuclear power plants down, you tool? I mean, this is the person who got into his saddle and said, "I'm going to close down the nuclear power plants because we don't need them." Let that sink in. We don't need them. What kind of nonsense is that? And now you're clutching your pearls and saying, "Oh my gosh, energy supply security is my priority." Well, then don't shut the nuclear power plants. And this is the irony here, because Habeck has been told several times, we can keep these nuclear power plants operational if you really wanted us to. And then he says, no, it's absolutely impossible. We cannot do it. And he lied. He lied about it. I mean, there's actual newspaper articles out there that prove that he is lying. And then there's these bosses at these utility bosses that say, well, we really don't like to restart our nuclear power plants. Well, golly, no, obviously you wouldn't. I mean, with those kind of leaders in Berlin, like Habeck and Schultz and Merkel and Schröder, who have all been harping on, oh, it's going to be fantastic. We're going to build so many renewables, and we build some gas plants, and then everything will be all right. Nothing will be wrong. And in the end, we will have had a great transition. Well, the transition was never about getting away from coal and getting away from gas. It was about getting away from nuclear. Well, now you've reached that point. And when people press you on that and say, well, listen, now we want to turn off our coal plants, then you say, oh, no, that's an impossibility, because we don't have enough power production in order to make sure that the lights stay on. That's how absurd the situation is. It's completely absurd. It's completely absurd. So that's why I use the clown meme face in this thumbnail, because it's an absurd situation. So recently, and I made another video about this, Radiant Energy Group, they do fantastic work. They wrote a report saying that, it's feasible to restart Germany's reactors, and here's a schedule. As you can see, the German electricity imports reaching record highs in 2024. So Fukushima happened. They started importing electricity because they shut down a couple of their reactors. They didn't really shut them down. They basically paused production. And what you see is then they turn back their reactors on and they start exporting again, up until, the early 2020s, when they doubled down on their nonsense and they said, okay, you know what, we're going to continue closing these 6 or 7 nuclear power plants that we still have. And now 2023, 2024, what you see is we're starting to become really net importers, and we are starting to become huge energy importers. It's a very important graph, this. So then we go down, right? This is also interesting. In countries that have shut down nuclear reactors for political reasons, nuclear is seen as lowering energy prices by more people compared to large-scale solar farms or onshore wind farms, right? So in Germany, 46% of the people say that nuclear power plants lower energy more, there are more people who say that nuclear power plants lower energy prices than people who say large scale solar farms do, or onshore wind farms do, or biomass from trees does. Japan, the same. South Korea, the same. Sweden, the same. There's a pattern here. It's almost the same. You know, in Japan, it's quite clear. They say we need wind and we need nuclear. And they name nuclear first. They say we need nuclear. They're restarting their nuclear power plants. They're designing new nuclear power plants to be deployed in Japan. It is happening as we speak. South Korea, a little bit of a mixed bag at this moment, but same thing. And Sweden is really, really moving up. They want to deploy 10 gigawatts of new nuclear by 2040, 2045, somewhere around that time frame. I think that should be possible to do it by 2035, maybe 2036. We have to become more ambitious. We have to show that it's really urgent, that we have to have these nuclear power plants as quickly as possible. It can be done. Just standardize everything and make sure that you do your due diligence. But it's quite simple. If you only build the same reactor, or let's say you build 2 or 3 types of reactors, but you build a ton of them, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to expedite the delivery of these nuclear power plants. For crying out loud, we built our Borssele nuclear power plant in 4 years. We ordered it in 1969, and it went online in 1973. I mean, this was the 70s and the 60s, the late 60s, and we managed to build a nuclear power plant in 4 years. We can build a nuclear power plant in 4 years if we want to. There's absolutely no technological reason why we shouldn't be able to build a nuclear power plant within 4 years. So the German electricity emissions remain high and highly variable. I mean, just look at it. It's all over the place. And that's because of then you have a lot of wind, then you have a lot of solar, then you have no solar, then you have no wind. And it goes up and down and up and down and up and down. It's like a hyperactive child that really needs to get some Ritalin. And the only Ritalin that we have in this situation is nuclear, because nuclear just is steady. Yes, it can load follow. It's no problem. In France, they load follow all the time. If you have a sufficiently large fleet, then you can choose your reactors which load follow from time to time. It's not a big deal. It's not as if it can't be done. And just look at France. France is the yellow one over here. This is their carbon intensity, 18 grams of CO2 equivalent per kilowatt hour. Whereas Germany here, 342 grams of CO2 equivalent per kilowatt hour. So the restart and feasibility schedule, I've talked about this earlier. There's two units that can be restarted within 1 to 3 years, and there are 7 units that can be restarted within 4 to 8 years. And that's what I want to concentrate on in this video. So I made this Excel sheet. I used it before. Let's see. If you take this graph, for instance, what you see over here is the dispatchable versus non-dispatchable growth. So you can see that renewables have grown from 76.5 gigawatts up to 168 gigawatts. Now, just look at how much that is worth. It's absolutely worth nothing, because the German economy is failing at this moment. It's absolutely in the gutter. 100,000 jobs are at direct risk right now at Volkswagen, ThyssenKrupp, the Deutsche Bahn, and a lot of other industries that are related. 100,000 jobs. Now, Germany is a large country. They have 85 million people. So obviously 100,000 jobs doesn't seem like a lot, but if it's in these large industries, it's not just those jobs that are at jeopardy, but it's also the jobs that support these jobs that are at jeopardy. And I think that those aren't counted at this moment. So 100,000 jobs may just as easily be 200,000 jobs or even 300,000 jobs, depending on how much interdependency there is. So the existing shit, that's what I call it. We have lignite 2019 up until 2023 because that was the data that I could find from the German government. Then we have hard coal. You know, you can see this is the capacity 22.7 gigawatts. Yes, they've gone down a bit to 17.5 gigawatts. Same with lignite 20.9 went down to 15.1. I mean, it's an attempt. It's an attempt, but it's not good enough. Gas is going up from 30 to 36. Biomass is slightly going up from 8.3 to 9. And oil, I mean, who still talks about oil here? They basically run these plants are really just there to pick up the slack whenever it is needed. So the nuclear revival, right? That's what we try to envision here. So what does the nuclear revival look like? I'm sorry, I'm sitting right in front of this thing here. We take Radiant Energy Group's proposal, and we say, okay, we're going to restart Brockdorf, and then we're going to restart Emsland, etc., etc. And we take this timeline over here, right? The 1 to 3 years and the 4 to 8 years for the 7 units. So 1 to 3 years. So we start next year, 2025. We restart Emsland. Then it takes another year, 2027. We manage to restart Brockdorf, right? So we have 2 large nuclear reactors back online. And then we get to year 4, and we start to add these other nuclear reactors that they're talking about, you know, over here. Grande, Gundremmingen, B and C, Iser 2, Krumel, Neckar, Wistham, and Philipsburg. We start adding them to the mix. That's basically what happens in this time frame over here. And you end up with having 12.1 gigawatts of revived nuclear capacity by 2035. Now, by that time, you would not have enough power to really shut down coal. But if you add, let's say that you start building AP1000s in Germany, right? And you say, okay, we decide in 2025 that we want to build an AP1000 in whatever place, and we make an absolutely mega ambitious plan. We're going to say, okay, we decide in 2025 that we want to do it. In 2033, it has to be operational. 8 years. In theory, that should work. Everybody's going to point at Vogel and say, look at how long that they took to build Vogel or VC Summer, or look at the Chinese. Even they couldn't do it as fast. I understand that. I'm just being more ambitious than all the other people. I just want us to go faster. And as I said before, if we could build a nuclear power plant in the 1970s and do it within 4 years, and that plant is so good that today they are contemplating to let it run for 20 more years up until you know it becomes 80 years old. The thing that we built in the 1970s. Why the hell can't we build an AP1000 in the year 2025? Let's grow up, people. Let's grow a pair and let's start building this stuff. So suppose that we manage to get this thing online in 2033, and we get the second one online in 2034, and the third online in 2035. Then suppose that the production from coal stayed the way it is, then you would have eliminated all coal by 2035. If this was the way it was. Now, obviously, that's not the way this works, because this whole situation doesn't exist in a vacuum. The Swedes are going to build more nuclear capacity. The Dutch are going to build more nuclear capacity. The Polish are going to build more nuclear capacity. The Czech people are going to build more nuclear capacity. The French are going to build new nuclear capacity. I'm even willing to bet that the Belgians are going to build more nuclear capacity. So in the end, even if Denmark follows suit at some point, Germany is going to be surrounded by countries that have built nuclear capacity. Whether that will be online by 2035 remains to be seen. Obviously, I'm being the hyper ambitious one here. But we need to have some ambition in order to make sure that we get this shit done. So suppose that we don't live in this vacuum. Germany keeps adding some renewables. Yes, fine. Maybe Germany also built some gas plants. Yes, fine. In theory, in this situation, coal could actually be closed down around 2030 if you started restarting your nuclear power plants. So circling back to Robert Habeck, who says, this is my end goal. I don't want to. I want to keep the lights on. This is my ultimate goal. What was it that he said exactly? Let's go back to it, right? Let's see, where is it? Yeah, oh yeah. For me, energy supply security will always be the absolute priority. Well, if that's your priority, then you start restarting your nuclear power plants tomorrow. Tomorrow. That is your new job from now on, Mr. Habeck. Well, unfortunately, Habeck is no longer calling the shots. Well, he is. He's a caretaker minister right now. He's in a caretaker government. He has to make sure that the government keeps running until they've had their elections and they selected their new government, which, obviously you can go to the poll booths and elect your new government in February. That doesn't guarantee that you have a new government by June. This might take even a lot longer. So if Habeck had some actual balls to talk about, if he had some real cojones, for me, energy supply will always be the absolute priority. Absolute. If that's true, Habeck, if that's true, I dare you to still keep harping on your anti-nuclear bullshit. I dare you to keep continuing this shit that you're pulling with Sweden and with Norway and with all the countries that want to build nuclear power plants. Stop that shit now and look to your own country. Look at what can be done tomorrow. Radiant Energy Group has given you everything that you need to know in a silver platter. If that's your absolute priority, you would start a program tomorrow, not just to restart the nuclear power plants that you shut down, but you would actually start thinking about how can we add more nuclear capacity to this grid, because it's our absolute priority to keep the lights on. And maybe it should also be your absolute priority to keep the heartland of Europe, which is Germany, which is the largest industrial nation, to keep the rest alive, because if you collapse, then the rest of us collapse too. Maybe this is the moment when you should finally wake up and get rid of this stupid notion that nuclear should be a problem. Nuclear is not a problem. Nuclear is a solution. Nuclear is the cornerstone upon which you can build an entire church. Right? And with this, I want to leave you today. This emotion, whoever is watching today, this is the emotion you need to channel. This is what you need to tell these people. Grow up. Grow a pair of balls. Wake up. Stop dreaming. Because you're really doing stupid stuff at this moment. And you're not doing stupid stuff, that's inconsequential. You're doing stupid stuff that doesn't just make the lives for 85 million people worse. It's making lives of hundreds of millions of people worse. Right? Now, if you want to support me, make more videos like this, please become a paying Patreon member or become a member of the channel. If you want to support the channel, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and make sure that you chime in on the discussion down below. Now, thank you all for watching, and may the strong force be with you. Bye-bye.